this year, is convinced digital tickets will save money, increase travellers and boost income all at once. And there's lots of tech you can use. Ian Griffin is the CEO of SeatFrog, and it's one of the apps alongside others like Trainline and Red Spotted Hanky and TrainPal that sell rail tickets. Now, he's welcomed the move, describing it as a tough decision, but for the greater good. And we'll hear from him live in a moment. But first, 3 people who disagree with him. Ian Griffiths, the CEO of SeatFrog. Just first of all, how can a digital ticket app save money for passengers, increase income for train companies, all at the same time?
I think the thing you've got to look at with technology is that if we solve the right problems, take paper tickets for example, as what we're talking about, they're in massive decline, down to 12% and dropping. Yet the problem isn't that people can't buy a ticket in the station; it's that digital ticketing right now potentially doesn't serve a small and very important number of people. So if we focus on solving that, making sure all ticket types are available through all channels, people get the right deals and sales that are available through all channels, no matter where that is.
But all channels could involve a ticket office where somebody just rocks up and says, "Can I have a ticket, please?"
That's correct, but I think if you look at how ticket office infrastructure was built, it was built decades ago, and it's built to serve a much bigger volume of people. So there's a huge amount of expenditure and waste there. And I think what's being suggested isn't that we completely remove the person that sits behind the ticket office. It's how can we deliver that service in a much better face-to-face way, still in the train station, but without this huge cost of infrastructure like ticket kiosks, where that capital could be applied to savings for customers, make the railway way more efficient, and pass those costs and savings on to passengers.
I must say, I bet I'm not the only one who thought Trainline was the only supplier of digital tickets and the only place you could go online to book them. I was really surprised when I learned about Red Spotted Hanky, TrainPal and you. Now, you're not the market leader in this business by any stretch, but why did you think there was a gap in this market?
Well, I think coming back to incumbents in the market, they were built decades ago, really not designed for the world that we live in now. And I think, like we're talking about one problem in terms of ticket kiosks, I think there's many problems to solve, and more competition from innovators like SeatFrog is a great thing for the British public. We launched 4 years ago, and now we're the only place you can buy your ticket, upgrade to first class from a £5, and change trains at any time regardless of ticket type, and those things just didn't exist before us, and there was no incentive for the incumbents to do things like that. But we've saved customers over £43 million, and I think that's proof in the pudding that good disruption from innovators in a market where it's been crying out for competition for a long time, it can only be a good thing.
Well, Ian, stay with us. I'm really pleased you've allowed us to do this, because I want to introduce you to Simon Richards, who's 63 from Worcestershire, Mick Williams, who's 56 from Leyland in Lancashire and works in information security, and Pamela Murphy, who's 53 from Surrey and works as administrator for the Surrey Coalition of Disabled People, and we're going to unleash them on you. So, Pamela, first of all, you've got Ian Griffiths, CEO of SeatFrog, who's designed this app which allows you to very swiftly buy tickets for the trains. What do you want to say to him?
Well, in the current situation, I can't buy tickets disabled tickets from the machines. I have to buy it from the actual ticket office.
Ian, would you allow Pamela? Would you sort Pamela's problem with SeatFrog?
Hey, Pamela, I read your question, actually, and I completely share your frustration in a big way for this. I actually asked my team to have a look into it, and my understanding is with the change of ticket kiosks being removed, they're going to put staff in stations, yes, but also right now there's a project happening where all the self-service machines that are available in the stations are being upgraded to support every single ticket type in the country, as well as discounts like the one you talk about. So I completely agree with you that it should be available everywhere, anywhere you need it, really. So yes, my answer to that is it's happening.
There is still an issue that people in wheelchairs can't reach up to the ticket machines, because they're designed for people who stand in front of them. They're not designed for people in wheelchairs. Likewise, when you get on and off the train, people in wheelchairs need to have someone there to deal with putting a ramp for them.
So this is a physical problem. This is a logistics problem, Ian.
Yeah, there's a fantastic company called Transreport, actually, who are working with all the train companies to try and solve those problems where, you're putting a ticket machine in a location where there's a set of stairs, which obviously doesn't facilitate people with a wheelchair, or making sure that passenger that's on a particular train, when that train stops at the platform, there's someone actually available there and then to help them get off and on. So what I would say is, it's definitely not perfect today.
Likewise, can I just say, I am visually impaired, but I can actually see reasonably well, but an awful lot of people can't see reasonably well. How are they supposed to use ticket machines and use online systems for providing tickets?
I think the notion of removing the ticket offices is, the government has been pressed on the topic to say that, this isn't about removing people, it's about removing the infrastructure, but making sure that they're redeploying staff from behind the glass into customer-facing roles, and that should be an absolute number one priority. To make sure that all those moments that you talk about, Pamela, are facilitated and in a much better way than they are today.
Well, Pamela, thank you very much for that. Mick Williams from Leyland in Lancashire. Now, you work in information security. I would have thought you were a pretty dab hand at a smartphone.
I am indeed. Thank you for that. Yes, I am, unlike my parents, who are both octogenarians, and they do use the trains. They actually don't have the tech required in their household. But my major problem with the closure of the ticket offices is, first of all, not all tickets are available on the machines. For example, I use a ticket which is called a flexi season. I have to physically go to an office to get that currently. And that's on top of the ticket structure, which is unbelievably complex, where when you're at the machine, you're offered so many different tickets, you're actually not sure which one's right. I have been caught out myself where I didn't realise I was buying a ticket for one operator and ended up on another operator's train and had to buy a ticket on the train again.
Ian, well, let me put that to Ian Griffin. Ian, this system of tickets is unbelievably complicated, and it really doesn't have to be, does it?
No, absolutely not. There's 55 million different fare types in UK Rail, and that's hard for a technology to pick through and give the customer the best ticket, let alone a customer to try and understand all the different ticket types. An example, I jumped on the train from Bath to London this morning, and even I didn't realise I didn't have the right ticket for that train. I had to buy a whole new one. And, prices like that just shouldn't exist. Mick, I've got a question for Mick, actually. Mick, I asked my team to have a quick look at yours as well. You travel on... Leyland is a station that's operated by Northern. Are you buying your flexi ticket through those guys?
Yes, I am, to be honest with you.
They have started offering that specific ticket type on their website. If you go to northernrailway.co.uk/tickets/flexi, that gives you all the information, and you will be able to buy it directly through them online.
You can see, Ian, you can see why people are being driven away from the trains, because the fact that you've just said what you've just said means people slap their foreheads and say, no, I'm not, but I'm going to drive.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think if we're in a situation where people are choosing the car over the train, then someone's got to sort the problem, and quickly.
Well, let's go to Simon Richards, 63 from Worcestershire. What sort of issues are you seeing, Simon?
Well, they're similar to the person before. There are a lot of tickets you just can't buy online. Then it's the complexity of it. For example, try and buy a ticket from Birmingham to London, second class. The price ranges from around £20 return to £200 return. This app seems absolutely too good to be true, and I'd love to have a look at it and see if I could make sense out of it, because, like the person from Leyland, I've forgotten his name.
Mick.
I've worked in IT myself, and I'd love to see it.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Ian, is the complications and the absolutely unforgiving nature. You said it this morning, you got in the train to Bath, got the wrong ticket, had to buy a whole new one. There's no place for error, or just put 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 human frailty, is there, in this system? And perhaps there should be.
Yeah, I think the thing is, a lot of the technology that's running railway was built a very long time ago, and ticket changes are a great example. It's something that we solved with the Department for Transport in the last kind of 6 months and just launched on Northern Rail, where 1.2 billion tickets are sold every year, where you have to get on the train that you're on. You can't change. And if you want to change, people are paying an average of £39.11. And our research shows that total cost to the UK public is over £700 million a year, which is just not acceptable. When life happens, you want to be able to change trains, or you get on a train, it's the wrong train, you have to change again. You shouldn't be penalised for that. So we launched a service in the app called Train Swap, which is live across the whole of the Northern Rail network and is now rolling out across the country, where you can change to any train within 24 hours of departure, 2 taps, and it's £2.50, and you change whenever you need to. So, if I want to get home and help do the kids pick up, which I don't get to do very often, I can jump on that train 2 hours earlier without having to pay £40 for the privilege. I can just pay £2 and change whenever I like.
There are the other providers are also doing sort of innovative things like that. But what's the single point that you would make to the government on closing these railways? I mean, admittedly, they're consulting on it. As part of the consultation, what would you say to them to beware of before they do this?
Well, I'm not discrediting Simon or Mick's comments, because I think they're absolutely valid in terms of making ticket types available and the channel they need it. But I think, as a priority, I would take Pamela as a great example here, in that when you're considering taking ticket kiosks away, you have to absolutely have as your number one priority, you're taking that person from out behind the glass. The experience has to be better, not in the same parity as ticket kiosks, and we have to consider everyone and the people that are going to need that channel the most.
Ian Griffin, CEO of SeatFrog, thank you. Simon Richards, Mick Williams and Pamela Murphy, thank you all for joining us. Now, we've often asked, why is it that people are so reluctant to carry out simple procedures that would make their homes warmer? Well, now we have a clue thanks to an in-depth survey which spoke to more than 3,000 people with drafty homes. It's been commissioned by Barclays, who earlier this year launched a scheme for their mortgage customers to get cash back when they buy certain green measures. The man who designed the scheme is the behavioural economist Peter Brooks, and he was quizzed about it by our very own Felicity Hanna before the launch.
£2,000 for a heat pump that can cost, 25 grand?
What we were doing here is trying to understand whether these levels are right as well, as part of the pilot. One of the things we might learn. Is that enough? Is it the way people want to go? Actually, what do people value? Is it the solar panels that's going to be perhaps a little bit more appealing than the heat pumps? Or is it people going to be really tempted by insulation and making that the cheaper option? At this stage, we don't know.
Will it definitely be taken on after the pilot, or is this just dipping your toe?
I think any pilot has to be seen to be dipping the toe to understand whether it's the right option or not. But as we learn, if it is successful, then I'm sure it's one of the things that we'd look to roll out, make something more permanent, make it larger scale, and also to share the things that we learn with policymakers to see whether there are bigger interventions that can be done.
It was Peter Brooks, a behavioural economist. Well, the scheme was praised by the Financial Times for its simplicity, and certainly here at You and Yours over the years, we've seen many schemes come and fail, from the Green Deal to the Green Homes Grant. But the Barclays Green Rewards pilot has been running since May, and the bank is so pleased with it, they've decided to extend it for another 3 months, taking it to the end of the year. So we asked Barclays to come on and tell us about that, but they said they didn't have anyone available. But we do have Phil Spencer, well known for a slew of TV property shows, from Location, 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 to Love It or List It, to Love It or List It, to Love It or List It,